Dan the Natural Man Show! Hey everybody! Today I'm making this video for one of my viewers, Anne Marie, but I'm sure a lot of you will get something out of this because autoimmune diseases are very common today. Unfortunately, they're very common. I'm going to start with your easiest question first, Anne. You asked me, what do I recommend for vitamin D in the winter months? Well, a good supplement, and I like this one. You can get this one on Amazon. Doctor's Best Vitamin D3 5000 IUs. This is a good one. This is a little capsule or a little gel cap. Let's see. Looks like this. Or you can get a vitamin D tincture. I love my tinctures. This is a good one. Bioganics Vitamin D3 Liquid. You can also find this on Amazon. I'll put this in a link below so you can find them easier. This is your D3 oil. You can just put it in some water or just drop it right down your throat. Okay. And your other question was about the mucus in the stool. That's just when your body reacts to gluten. It causes inflammatory processes to occur in your intestines, and your body produces mucus to try to protect itself from inflammation and further damage. This is also why a lot of our herbs that are demulcent, like slippery elm and marshmallow root and licorice root, that's why these are good herbs to take if you suffer from any kind of inflammatory bowel diseases, because it also coats the intestines. That way, when they're inflamed, it protects them from stomach acid and any kind of other irritants. And so, when our body doesn't have the herbs, it can produce its own mucus. Now, the autoimmune diseases are more complicated. I got my cheat sheets here because I want to try to cover and try to make it, understandable, because I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. If you have autoimmune disease, I know that your typical understanding of it will tell you that an autoimmune disease is when your immune system attacks your own body and your own tissues and your own cells. But this is not true. I mean, think about it. Okay, if you believe that we were divinely created, which I do, I believe we were created by God. Do you really think that He messed up in making our bodies? I mean, the human body is the most complex, complicated, amazing thing here on earth. I mean, animals' bodies are very similar, but this body is not going to mess up and say, you know what, today I think I'm going to attack myself, okay? What it's doing, the immune system was designed to attack foreign invaders. And so, a lot of these foreign invaders that the body attacks when we're having autoimmune problems, one of the big viruses is EpsteinBarr virus, and a doctor may test you for EpsteinBarr virus, but if they find antibodies in your blood for EpsteinBarr virus, they typically assume that, okay, you had it in the past, but now your body has built up antibodies to it, so you're good, you're in the clear, the virus is no longer a threat to you. This isn't true in a lot of cases, especially if you're having autoimmune problems. That means that your Epstein-Barr is still in your body, it's still causing problems. See, Epstein-Barr virus will go, it will hide in your spinal cord. It can hide in some fat tissues and other organs. It'll sit there and hide. And then you could be good for a while, but then you might have some period in your life where you get really, really stressed, and your immune system gets weaker because of this, because stress weakens the immune system, or you could be losing sleep, that weakens the immune system. And then Epstein-Barr will come out and play again because the immune system is weaker, and it can start to wreak havoc in your body again. So, if you have an autoimmune disease, you want to look at 4 things. The first thing is heavy metals, okay? you can go get it tested if you want to, but most of us have heavy metals. It's just a fact of modern living because we have mercury in our fillings, which I don't have any of those, thank God. There's mercury in your vaccines, there's mercury in your foods, there's mercury. Some of the people, you've lived close to some of these foundries, there's mercury in the air, there's mercury in the soil, mercury in paint, there's lead in a lot of the paint. So most of us do have heavy metals, and that is one of the causative factors for autoimmune diseases, because heavy metals start to break down, and the viruses like EpsteinBarr and Streptococcus, which most of your autoimmune diseases, you got EpsteinBarr and Streptococcus that's running wild in your body, and it feeds on heavy metals. Also, these same heavy metals start to reduce the population of good gut bacteria. And I don't know if you know this, but I mean, if we have an imbalance of gut bacteria, if we have more bad gut bacteria than good gut bacteria, this is going to cause all kind of havoc in our bodies. This is going to lower our immunity, and so this will make autoimmune diseases worse. This will make the viruses easier to cause problems within your body. So the first thing we got to look at is we got to make sure we're going to, of course, we're going to detox, because that is a large part of natural healing is detoxification. But with autoimmune diseases, we're going to also focus on detoxing heavy metals. Now, with any of these diseases that we talk about, we want to detoxify the whole body, and we always start with the colon. The colon, I can't reiterate enough how important this is. We have to detox the colon, because if you start to detox your kidneys or your liver or your bloodstream or your heavy metal, and your colon isn't moving properly, well, these toxins get stirred up. They try to leave through the colon. They can't because you're constipated or backed up, which most of us are. And all they do is they recirculate into the body, and this can make you feel even more crummy because these toxins are being recirculated back into the body while they were stored in tissues. But now you start them up trying to detox, and if your channels of elimination are open, they start to recirculate back in the body. You'll feel like crap for a while, almost like you have flu. So we don't want to do that. That's why we always start with the colon cleanse. We want to start with the colon cleanse, and we want to do that for at least 2 months before we start to look at anything else as far as cleansing goes. And I recommend for the colon cleanse Dr. Schultz's #1 formula. You'll use that for 1 month. You'll follow the directions on the bottle. Then for the second month, you will add in Dr. Schultz's #2, intestinal formula #2, because this formula gets in there and it removes a lot of the old fecal matter. And yes, it can sit in there and it can harden and it actually forms a casing on your colon. So this formula has bentonite clay, it has slippery elm, it has charcoal. It will start to it gets in your colon and expands and starts to break away the old fecal matter. It also helps to pick up heavy metals like we were talking about before. And you want to do this routine for 2 months. You're going to start month 1, use the intestinal formula #1. There's directions on the bottle, but the way you use intestinal formula #1 is every night at dinner you'll take 1 capsule, or the first night you'll take 1 capsule. When you wake up in the morning, if you don't have a really easy, copious poo, then the next day you need to take 2 capsules. Most people need 3 capsules to really get themselves going, to really get the colon moving, and to get the nice, easy, soft bowel movements that we're looking for. You'll do this for a month. By the end of the month, your bowels should be moving 2 to 3 times per day. Then you'll add in on the second month intestinal formula #2. When you start intestinal formula #2, it is good to add 1 more. You're gonna still take #1 with the #2. When you start #2, is wise to, if you're taking 3 #1s, to up it to 4 #1s, because the #2 is thick and it can be constipating. So you need to increase your number ones to keep everything moving. We want to keep it moving, okay? After these 2 months, you're going to be feeling a lot better, more than likely, because it's going to detox a lot of things. Now after this, we can look more, if we still feel bad, we can look more into some heavy metal detoxification. Dr. Christopher has a heavy metal detox, bugleweed, the bugleweed routine. You can look that up. I also highly recommend to get the medical medium Anthony Williams book. The first one, I mean all of them are good, but the first one I think it's just called Medical Medium by Anthony Williams. Now, and if you don't believe in this kind of thing, I know he says he talks to his spirit, and the spirit tells him what's wrong with people and what to do. You know, if you don't believe in that, don't read that part, because a lot of things that he's talking about in that book, we learn at school, okay? I mean, most of your herbal schools teach this. The school I'm in teaches a lot of these things. So no matter where he gets his information, it's really good. It's really good information. So don't worry about, okay, where he claims he gets it. Just remember, just think he gets it at herbal school like I do, okay? But it works. It's a good routine. The second thing you need to look at with autoimmune diseases, eating healthy foods. And a lot of these foods, especially if we have celiac disease, which is why I'm assuming you have, Marie, because you say you have a gluten problem. You're intolerant to gluten. That's usually celiac disease. We have to look at some of the foods we even believe are healthy. If we're having problems like this, some of these foods aren't healthy for us. And believe it or not, some of your culprits when you're having these autoimmune problems, I'm going to name you a list here. Some of the foods I think are really, and they are healthy foods when you're well, but when you're dealing with an autoimmune disease and you're working on healing yourself, you have to avoid these foods for the time being. One of them is dairy. You want to get rid of all dairy foods. These are bad triggers for autoimmune problems, and they feed the Epstein-Barr virus. Another food is, white potatoes, corn, nuts, eggs. Eggs are a very big problem for autoimmune diseases. Very big problem. Viruses love to feed on eggs. You got to drop the eggs during this healing process. Let's see. I don't want to leave out because the foods are very important. You have to leave out. A lot of people have to avoid the nightshade plants like your tomatoes, white potatoes, peppers. And of course we're going to leave gluten out and even other grains, especially if we're suffering. If we're in a flare, we want to avoid all these things, and we want to focus mostly on raw foods. Now when I'm talking about raw fruits and vegetables, if you can tolerate, if you're having an inflammation in the bowel, you may not be able to tolerate raw foods immediately, so you need to cook them. Like, it'd be good to have, if you have, of course, and I'm talking to you, and I don't know, maybe you are having intestinal problems. So it's better to eat easily digestible foods like fruit smoothies and pureed soups, things like that. And a lot of your greens, like your collard greens and your kale and your bok choy, these are going to be good to eat during the healing. And of course these foods are good all the time, even though none of us eat enough of them. I don't eat enough of them either. But they're very nourishing and they're very healing to all disease. And we want to make sure we stay away from the foods. If you eat a food and right now and it bothers you, put it on the list and don't eat it for now. When you start feeling better, a few months down the road, you can start to slowly add some of these foods back into the diet and see how they make you feel. If they still make you feel bad, you may have to cut them out longer or even forever. Everybody's different. And I definitely recommend juicing. I'm talking about not store-bought juice. I'm talking about getting a juicer and doing fresh juices, because we need the live enzymes in our body, because most people with autoimmune diseases have a leaky gut. That's where the body is unable to digest our food properly, and we have molecules of food and proteins that leak back into the blood. And this is another thing that our immune systems are reacting to. They're reacting to these food particles. If they're too big, the body views them as a foreign invader. So we need to make sure that we're working on the digestion with raw foods, raw juices that have enzymes. These enzymes help our body to digest, which brings me to another foods we need to look at. Is we need to focus on the probiotic foods to help rebuild our gut flora. Because most diseases, pretty much, I would say 99% of your diseases start in the gut. The gut is so important for the health of the human body. It's unbelievable how important it is. This is like our command system, so to speak. You got to have this healthy. The foods to focus on for this could be things like kimchi, things like non-dairy kefir, fermented vegetables, which kimchi is one of those, apple cider vinegar. And you can also get a good probiotic if you think you need one of those. But if you focus on these healthy foods every day, it should be enough to rebuild your flora. Another thing that can lead to, well, it's just not another thing, it's just another factor that could be a causative factor, or making it worse, is low vitamin D. So you need to make sure you're getting enough vitamin D. And you said where you live, it's cold, you don't have a lot of sun, so I recommend a supplement. And the first two I recommend, those are pretty good. I hope I've made sense here. This is like one of those things that it takes a while to explain. But let me just go over it one more time. Okay, the 4 things you want to focus on. Heavy metal toxicity. Paying attention to the foods that trigger you and avoiding those foods when you're healing. Focus on your getting enough live enzymes in your diet and enough probiotics in your diet to start to rebuild the digestive system. And you also want to work on the infections like the EBV or EpsteinBarr and the Streptococcus. That's usually a cofactor with it. You can do this by, of course, repopulating the gut is going to help, but to speed along, you can add raw garlic to your diet. At least three raw cloves a day. You can add those to your foods if they don't hurt you. Some people, it bothers them. There's other herbs that can help, like olive leaf, oregano oil, pau d'arco, ginger, cat's claw, elderberry, grapeseed extract. A lot of these will help to fight infections in the body. So this is just, I wanted to help you, and this is just I'm trying to outline all of it here. It can get kind of jumbled. But of course, if you have more questions, feel free to ask me. And if you like the video and find it helpful, like it and share it. Check out my page, danthenaturalman.com. And until next time, keep it natural.